Hello, everybody. I'm Miss Flavia with Little Blank Canvas, and today we are going to paint something for Valentine's. So, I'm going to tell you what we're going to need, what the supplies are going to be for today. And the idea is that you can work as a family on a canvas, or you can work independently. This class is ideal for kids that are 6 and up, and there's no age limit. If you have kids that are younger than 6, just work with them, help them. We're gonna use acrylic paint, so but if you have tempera or even watercolor at home, that it's gonna work as well for you. Okay, so let's get started and share the love. So the first thing I want to show you is that I'm gonna switch cameras, so you're gonna be seeing two cameras. You're gonna see my face on the side, and you're gonna start seeing my hands about now. Yay! So this is what you're gonna need. I have a panel canvas here. If you want to use a watercolor paint, you're gonna use a watercolor paper. If you're using watercolor paper, I highly recommend taping with a masking tape with something like this. But other than that, you don't need anything differently than what we're gonna do. A pencil and eraser. I like to have an extra eraser separate one from the pencil, because this one I actually even cut them for my students not to feel the temptation, because they actually hurt and they don't erase as well. Then we're going to need a little cup with a little bit of water. I have three different brushes over here: a large, medium, and a small brush, a little rag or paper towel. It's up to you. There's no preference. I like to have my rag so I don't be throwing away paper, but that's okay. And you can have as many different shades and colors as you would like. I have some different uh, pinks and hot pinks. I have violet, and then red, white, and black. And for my background, I'm gonna do some light blue and also brown for the tree that we're gonna plant and paint. So the first thing is gonna be sketching with the pencil, and I want you guys to sketch very lightly. You're going to touch your canvas or your paper very lightly, and it's just like touching your hands like this. You just see a very smooth and a very soft touch, and there is no right or wrong way of doing it. We're just going to start with having a little tree coming over here. We're going to find some spaces for the branches. Then we're going to put a little owl, and the leaves on the flower on the tree, they're actually going to be shaped as hearts. So we're going to have a lot of love, a lot of little hearts, and a really good time. So to draw the tree, trees are going to be different from one another. So I don't want you to worry about looking just like mine. But if you want to use mine as inspiration, please feel free. So I'm just going to start sketching and bringing a vertical line from the bottom of my canvas up, and started to make some moves to the side. I'm going to give about maybe a 2 finger space over here, so my tree is not too skinny but not super fat. And then I'm going to bring that and open up. So what I have is just these two lines creating the shape of the base of the tree, the trunk of the tree. And then very loosely, I'm just going to allow some branches to come to life. So I'm just going to have a few, almost like little wavy lines. They're going to come just very loose. I'm not going to worry where they're going to end up being. And then I can start shaping up the center where all the branches are coming from. But again, super loose. I don't want to put a lot of, just want something to be flowing and something to be enjoying doing together. If I have something like this can also connect on the back of that tree. And we're going to paint it over. So this is really to have an idea of space, start having a good time, and bringing these beautiful lines and curved lines and have an idea when we are drawing where the small branches are going to be coming from and coming to. Can even make this bigger. And I don't want you guys to have to worry about erasing, because as we are painting, you can cover or you can create more. Okay, it's really to have a good amount of a good planning on our canvas. So once you feel like, oh my gosh, this tree is great, this is exactly what I wanted, and I feel really good about it, you see I'm not even erasing anything. I'm going to bring it a little bit closer because I'm drawing kind of lightly, but I want you guys to be able to see the lines. So once you have it here, then we can just find a space where you would like to have your owl. And my owl is going to be very, very simple. We're going to focus on the shape. And one thing about this video is that you can stop that video at any time, do what you need to do, and then come back, press play again, and resume watching. So on this side, I'm going to find a little square. I have a very simple shape of a square sitting on top of that branch. From that square to the top of there, I'm going to have some side ears. They look a little bit of a kind of a two triangles. They're going to be about the same size. You can make them bigger, larger, skinnier. It does not matter. And then I'm going to bring a line to the side and another line that will come curved inside of this animal now, and have two circles for the big eyes and a little beak. And that beak is in the shape of an upside down triangle. So I can shape it up a little bit differently now, but paying attention to how that object, the owl, is shaped, just a basic shape, will give you a lot of freedom later once you have the idea where the owl is going to be, and then you can shape up and you can adjust with your pencil. So I am really happy. You can even put some lines for claws if you want to. So I'm really happy where everything is, and I'm not going to worry about the leaves and doing the hearts or anything because I'm going to paint my background first. And our background, so I'm going to put my pencil and eraser away. And my background is actually going to be a blue that is lighter than this one, okay? So what I'm going to do, I have my brush already in water. I'm going to bring a little bit of this white paint to blend and mix with the blue that I have in here. It's going to be a little bit lighter. If you have a little plastic spoon or palette knife, you can also use to bring and mix that. I just don't have it here with me right now, so it's all good. So I have that. I'm going to remove the extra amount of paint from my brush. That's why I don't like to mix with my brush so much. And I'm going to make my brush really wet. So I'm going to touch in the water, I'm going to touch in the paint, and I'm going to spread this paint. I'm going to try to avoid the big spaces that I put for the tree. But even if I have a little bit, my tree is going to be darker. So I'm just going to be doing what we call the wash, which is applying a little bit of paint and water. And I'm going to paint on top of the branches because I'm still going to be able to see. So you can make it really watery. And that is an option. If you want to just take your time and paint with darker color, or don't even use water, don't water too much of your background, that is fine as well. You can work around your branches. I'm just spreading. One tip that I will give you guys, it's to always find a orientation for your brush to be moving. And I mean, like, if you're working from side to side, keep that motion throughout your background, throughout your canvas. And just so we're clear, background is everything that is behind that tree and that owl, okay? So in my case, it's going to be a sky. And I want to keep my background very, very simple because I want to bring the attention to my tree, to my animal, the owl that is sitting there. I want to bring the attention to the beautiful heart that we're going to put as leaves on the tree. So just a basic solid color, keeping my motion the same throughout my painting, just spreading. I'm not even doing a gradient and changing tones. I'm just keeping it the same, moving my brush from side to side, spreading that beautiful blue. And the best brush for this is the medium or big brush. If you have a big canvas, mine is I think an 8 by 10, so it's not too big. Actually, not big at all, or 9 by 12. But if you have a bigger canvas, and since the space is really big, you can get your biggest brush that will help you spread the paint without creating marks for the brush strokes. So my owl, I'm not gonna paint over my owl. I'm just gonna go around because it's a small little thing, and I kind of like her, so I want to make sure that I can still see all of the details, and I may use some lighter colors. I want to make sure that I don't cover and don't mix. Oops. So take your time, enjoy the painting. And I still see most of my branches, if not all of them. So it's really good. I'm going to find some spaces between the branches and right close to the center of my tree now, to cover with some blue. Another tip that I will give you guys, when you're working with acrylic or even tempera, you don't want to put a lot of paint on your palette. Mine is actually really not a lot here, just spread it when I was mixing, because if you can put it back on your container, that would be great at the end, but acrylic will dry quite fast. So you want to make sure that you are not wasting your beautiful and expensive paint. So put a little bit. If you need more, put a little bit more, so on and so forth. So don't actually want to mix all of it and maybe not use it at the end. So I'm just gonna kind of patch some spaces over here that I have. But most of my tree, my leaves actually gonna cover even some of these beautiful imperfections over here. So once you're done with your brush and you have acrylic paint on it, just put it in water immediately. You don't want your brush to suffer, and you want to make sure that it's not going to dry, the paint's not going to dry in your brush and damage your brush. So put it in water, leave it there. Acrylic is a water-based paint, so it's really, really nice that we have water, not only to make the paint even not only lighter but easier to spread, but with just water you can rinse and remove the amount of paint you have on your brush. So I am done. I think actually just noticed that I missed a little spot with my blue sky, so I'm gonna come here and fix it. And there's always a good time for you to take another look at your painting, make sure that it kind of makes sense. If you have a canvas, you can even paint the size of your canvas. Since mine is a panel, I don't really have an edge. I don't really have a side to paint, but otherwise I would. And another reason why I like to start with the background first is that when we are getting ready for all the details in our drawing, we everything else is going to be as dry as possible. So if you're painting in a different place as well, or if you want to hang your painting right away, you can do that by just put it on the wall, and you are done. Everything would be as dry as possible on the outside as well. So I'm gonna put my blue away and want to make sure that all my brushes are really, really clean. And I think what I'm going to start doing is working on the branches and the tree. So if your paint is still very wet, I would recommend you pause this video, let it dry, so you can work on your branches way faster and more effective, and way better. Okay. Otherwise, you can just press play or just continue with us when you're done. So now that the background is completely dry and everything looks like safe enough for me to paint the rest, I'm gonna get my small little brush. I'm just gonna take the extra amount of water here on my rag or paper towel if you have a paper towel, and I'm gonna use some brown. Okay, this is let me double check, a burnt sienna, but any shade of brown, even another color for your tree. So I'm just gonna get the tip of my brush with some paint, not a lot. And what I like to do first is outline everything. So I start noticing the shape and the space that my tree is taking. So I'm going to use the edge of my brush, the very tip of my brush, and I'm going to just outline very gently, making sure that I am covering and going on top of those small little branches very lightly. Then when everything is kind of a, oops, I got a big blur, big amount of paint over here. So I can even change where I want some of the branches to come from, and the kind of the space that I set up, I can change up and go paint it on top, so it's all good. And if you have a little bit of your blue sky or whatever color you use for your sky, the the color you're going to use for your tree is going to be a little bit darker. And even if you have to put another layer, so that's not a problem at all. So just like in here, you see I was able to cover even if I need to do another coat and create another layer. Once the watercolor, not watercolor, I'm sorry, the acrylic paint is dry, then you can layer. When the paint is still wet, then you're gonna be able to mix and blend some new colors. So now I'm gonna come over here and whoops, I almost touched the paint. So that is what we're gonna be doing right now, just going over the branches and outlining. Since my branches are kind of skinny, I'm just really painting them, but I can go over and do maybe another layer if I feel like. I want you to take a time and enjoy this moment. If you're working with somebody, if you guys are painting together, working as a family, just enjoy this moment. Maybe play some music, and while we're doing this, and just enjoy. Don't stress over anything. Just bring it here. It's creating. And you can add stuff. You can add more branches if you feel like your composition is in need of some help. You adjust. Here we go. I think I'm covering everything. I'm just gonna go on this one over here. And for the branches, it would be nice to always have your small brush so you have more control. And the way that I like to recommend my students to hold their brushes is by holding between the metal part and the rest of the brush. So not too far away and not too close. It's almost like the way you're gonna hold a pencil or a little marker. You have more control of where the paint is. And I don't like to have paint on my metal part. I like to keep it here, small little amount, and I can really have more control where the paint is going to go by doing this. So hold it and make sure that you are applying the amount of paint that you need. Not too much, not too little. I honestly like that look of this dry brush, which is, it means just like this kind of a rough, interesting texture. So I'm not going to cover completely all of my branches, and I'm going to keep it like this. And we can split some over here. And nice. Very cool. So I also like to keep a very small and limited palette, which means like my selection of color is not really um, big. I like it small, I like it selective, so I may not use all of my pinks and all this. So I'm gonna use some of the same brown that I'm using for the tree. I may use for some of the leaves and even to incorporate into my owl. I'm gonna start painting in here. And that is also a great idea when working with kids. If you have a kid right now that is doing this class with us, Selecting a little bit more a small palette may give them a better sense of mixing colors and completing something that is more cohesive and it looks kind of a more harmonious. And you know that just by using the primary colors, you can make every color of the rainbow. So they're going to find a way, and it's always nice to see how creative and great artists they already are. So I would say if you have the primary colors and black and white, maybe brown, you're good to go. And this is our tree from our imagination. So it doesn't have to follow the same pattern of browns and greens and all of that. So let them explore and create. Use the colors that will make you happy, especially as we celebrate Valentine's and we celebrate love and friendship and compassion. I'm going to bring it here. So I ended up using my small brush for everything, but if you have a bigger tree, you can switch to your medium size brush, okay? Just know that we have different sizes to make our lives better, simplifying and making it easier for us to work. So I'm done with my tree. I still have a few spots, but I know when I'm starting to do the leaves shaped as a heart, I'm gonna be able to cover. And I want to do some highlights on my tree, which means like where the light is gonna be shining, which will create also some shadows on the other side. So since I have some extra amount of paint, I'm gonna clean it first, pinch it and pull it. And then I'm gonna put back in my water, do my bunny hop on the bottom of my cup, rinse it, rinse it, rinse it. And then make sure that the water is running clear and there's not a lot of paint or no paint at all sitting on this nice little brush. So now I'm gonna go for white because I want to do some highlights. And I don't have yellows and not even lighter brown. So I'm gonna go for some white and I'm gonna decide, let's say maybe I want a little bit here to look a little bit lighter. And because my brown paint is too wet, I'm able to blend these colors together. You see, it's not just a layer. So I can spread it, make it blend really well. I can find other spots that I would like to be with some highlights. We can even pretend that we have some snow accumulating here. So I think that could be really nice. I'm going to do that. So what I'm doing is I'm getting a little bit of white on my brush, and this is my tiniest brush. And I'm just going to show it with my hand over here. And then I'm going to touch the canvas with the tip of this and just moving a little bit. I'm not pressing all the way to smash the brush, but just touching very softly all around my canvas with the very tip of my brush. So I have some snow accumulating here. That was actually a really good idea. Very soft. It's not all around because you do have snow that would not accumulate in some spaces. The wind is blowing, some will kind of fall off. But usually in these little knots over here, you will see some sitting on top. So I'm gonna have these little spaces. Just be playful and find your best composition. So again, using the tip of my brush and just really very softly touching these spaces over here on the canvas. Okay, so close to where the owl is and over here. And then if you want to have maybe the highlight be a little bit more intense on this side, you can spread. Try not to blend too much so you see areas that would be a little lighter, areas that would be somehow more brownish. Because you know, if you look at a real tree, you will see some parts that would be darker, lighter, depending on how the light is shining or what you have going on. I'm gonna go back and putting a little bit more brown over here because I use more white than I thought. Okay, I'm just touching up over here. Okay, I'm pretty happy with how this is shaping up. I'm gonna take the extra amount of paint before I rinse my small brush again. And again, if I'm going too fast, you need to take a little bit more time, press the pause button, and then come back and just press play again. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna start bringing, since my tree is still wet with some paint, I don't wanna do the leaves and the hearts. So I'm gonna start painting my owl. And I was thinking for this owl, I would like to also bring some brown. Actually, I'm gonna start with the color that we have inside. So the body, not the wings. So I'm gonna get some purple. I'm using again my small little brush because my owl is so tiny. And I'm doing the best I can. I'm gonna fill in, avoiding the eyes and the beak. I'm gonna fill in with that beautiful violet the body of my owl, and that includes the ears, around the eyes. And this paint is really transparent. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put one layer. I'm just gonna dry a little bit here because it was really wet. So I'm gonna put one layer and then I'm gonna apply another one. Maybe I need to let it dry. I'm gonna let it dry a little bit. And while I have this color, I'm gonna go and get tiny little bit of brown for the wings. I'm gonna mix that brown with some red. Bring a little bit of red. So you see, I'm not mixing the colors on my palette. I'm just layering. So this red is gonna be a little bit more brownish by doing this. So feel free, of course, to find the best colors for your owl. Make sure that you're happy with this beautiful owl. I'm going to clean my brush over here again. And now I'm going to rinse it. And I'm going to go for some violet again. And try to layer this. Hopefully I'll get, dry this brush a little bit better. And then just put another layer of this. You can create a texture by the way you do your brush strokes. It could be really nice. I have it in here. And for the beak, I'm gonna get a tiny little bit of brown again because I don't have any orange or any other color. But again, you create your own owl. You don't have to worry about how real or not real. This is supposed to be a fun project. It can even be pink. I mean, it can be any color you want. And then what I'm gonna do next, I wanna make sure that my brush is super, super clean because I'm gonna do white around the eyes. And then once it's all dry, I'm gonna go for a dot of black. So I'm gonna get a little bit of white. I'm gonna try to do that tiny little circle here, just moving my brush around. If you have even smaller brush than I do, feel free to pause this, watch it again, and get your small brush all clean. And for the black, what I like to do is using the other side of my brush, just very gently touch on black. Oh, just get, there is, I waited a little bit. I put the paint first and then I waited a little bit for to start this project. Okay, so we have some paint and I'm just gonna find the center. I'm gonna do a little dot. And there you have it. You have way more control where the paint is going and the shape is just perfect. The size is just exactly what I wanted. So I'm keeping it like this. I may go at the end when we are finishing, have a little bit of more violet on top to cover and to finish up. Maybe even adding some, I don't know, some texture to show the feathers or things like that. But for now, I need to let this dry. And I think my tree is dry enough that I can start doing my heart. So I'm going to start with this violet just because. And I'm going to see spaces where it would make sense to have heart. And I'm not gonna sketch before I do this. I just want to be kind of very loose to how and where I'm placing my hearts. If you want to draw your hearts and move your canvas, that would be a nice way for you to have your hearts in different positions. You can make them big and small, you can make them tiny. Um, just change it up a little bit. They can be just flying from the tree. They don't need to be attached necessarily to the tree, just like leaves, they can be falling. All the love. Now is the time that you're just gonna relax and just work on your intuition to find the best places and directions for your hearts. And the hearts, they don't have to look the same, of course. They can be skinnier, they can be longer, they can be tiny, they can be big. So I put my first set of violet. Now I'm gonna go for this beautiful pink over here. I'm gonna find one here. And because my background is blue, even this pink is gonna look a little bit more lavender. And putting here. And don't worry about not, oh my gosh, this heart doesn't look like a heart. It's not symmetrical. Just enjoy. Just imagine maybe the hearts are leaves and the leaves are moving and changing direction. So you may not see the entire shape anyway. So if you feel safer, you can even sketch it first and then paint it later. I don't think it's necessary. I think there's way more fun when we just go for it and you know that you don't have like even um, the possibility of erasing. You can change it up and you can adjust, but you don't have to worry about erasing anything or doing anything differently. Just trust your brush and go for it. Find some little over here. I think I'm missing one here. That would be a nice spot for my pink heart. Nice. This one is not looking like a heart, so let me change up a little bit. So you can just expand. I'm gonna come here and make it look the shape that makes you happy. So I'm finished with that lighter pink over here. I'm gonna go for a very neon pink. This one is more translucent, so it's gonna be very interesting. It actually looks just like the other one. I may do a second layer on this one. You see, it's very light. So just find the spots, work in different directions, and this is, it's about the same color as the other one with that background. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go with a little bit of white and mix with the paint that I already have it there. So it's a little bit of that neon. I'm gonna bring it here and do a little mix on my palette. Not a lot, because I don't know if I'm gonna have all these leaves. Then I can have a more pastel. Aha, so it pops up better in the background. So we always have ways to change things and make it the way we want it. We have one other one over here. I'm going to do another one here as well. Let's see. I want to bring more leaves and all the love. So I'm going to find another one here close to the owl. And when I'm done, I'm just going to take the extra amount of paint again and rinse my brush, do my little bunny hop at the bottom of the cup. And now I'm going to go with red. And I want to find some other places, small little hearts. Guess my brush is not tiny enough for some of the tiny hearts that I want to put. I'm going to find some over here. They're a little bit bigger than my first one. And I'm using the edge of my brush as well, so that really helps me. I'm going to put another one connecting to the end of this branch. Very nice. And put another one here. And this red is looking darker because of the color I have it on my background. So understanding a little bit of color will really help you. We have this one that is sticking on the side. And you can adjust adding more white or adding more a darker color to mix with red as well to make your color darker. So the possibilities are endless, and that's what I love about painting and creating and making art, because you can adjust to your taste. You can find solutions, right? And this is such a lovely time to add hearts on your work. Okay, so I have it here. I'm gonna look. One thing that I always tell my students, and it's really important, is to work with perspective. When you're painting, you're gonna be the closest to a painting that you can be. Nobody else will look at your painting as close to it as you would. So let me change it over here. I'm gonna tell you one thing that I tell my students to do. You put it up like this, and you took a few steps backwards, and you look again. So now I have a better understanding about colors, composition, some of my shadings, and some of the things that I can change. So I can go back over here, and I'm going to show you from a different angle, because you're looking with the camera coming from the top, and now you can look on the side like this. Not only you more aware of the size that I was working with, but also the light and everything would change the way you see the masterpiece. And I'm already calling it a masterpiece. So I'm actually pretty happy with this. I don't think I need to add more hearts and leaves. I can maybe have a few flowing over here, but I think in terms of composition, it kind of brings the eyes to the focal point, which would be the tree, and then we notice the owl. So that is actually my intention for this lovely Valentine. So there are other things that you can do on this painting. You can write maybe a message. You can write maybe love. You can have some letters coming down. Maybe the letters for the word love, LOVE, just falling down in different directions. So that could be nice. Instead of the owl, if you want to do, instead of one owl, if you want to do two owls and just have like a heart coming out of the two owls together, you can do that as well. So the possibilities are endless. It was actually really hard to pick just one painting for our Valentine's free painting session. So I'm going to go back and show you guys the other things that I'm going to add to my masterpiece, so we can be completely done here. The last thing that I want to do is going back to my owl. So let me make sure that my small tiny brush is not too wet. I'm going to go with some red, and since the paint is completely dry, I can layer and have a nice color now for the wing, making sure that it's covering the branch as well. So the wings are going to be a little bit longer because the body is on the other side of the branch. Then I'm going to clean my brush and rinse it, do my bunny hops. Make sure that my brush is as dry as possible. Then I'm going to go again for the purple, and I'm going to layer. So now the paint is so dry, it is perfect to layer that another coat of violet. And especially the little details, I'm just going to be very careful, but it's already looking complete and nice. Nice. Coming here. You can even have a little bit on the other side of the branch, like the little tail sticking out. And what I'm going to do, just because I love using my entire palette, I'm going to do a layer, a line of a little bit of pink around the wing, and just do some brush strokes over here to show maybe the intention of some feather. Oh, and layering just on the wings. So That actually brings the painting together, touch inside of the ear to make some different. So I'm gonna bring it closer to the camera so you guys can see the details I added to my owl. She looks happy or maybe overwhelmed with all the hearts. And last but not least, I'm gonna sign my name. I like to use my initial, so I'm gonna get actually black, and I'm gonna do the first letter of my name and the first letter of my last name. And here we go. We have a lovely tree with all the love and an owl. That's my favorite animal and it represents wisdom. To celebrate Valentine's, we bringing the winter time to our painting as well because Valentine's is in February. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm gonna let me talk to you directly. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. And this is our free painting class to celebrate Valentine's. We have classes for kids and adults, weekly classes, and you can find more information online at the website. So www.littleblankcanvas.com. And we also have some classes on demand. And for now, it's just for kids 6 and up. But I know a lot of adults are already taking the classes and they're loving it because we talk about art movements, art styles, art history. The techniques can go from very basic to a little bit more elaborate, and we walk everybody through the steps. And I give my students a lot of creative freedom because I know that we need to start developing our own style and trusting on the amazing artists that we already are, trusting what's inside and feeling with all the techniques safe enough to put it on our work. So if you want to learn more, www.littleblankcanvas.com. Follow us on Instagram at Little Blank Canvas and also on Facebook. And we have a new YouTube channel so you can subscribe and follow and watch all of the videos. We have a lot of free tutorials, a lot of tips and information for parents and how to raise resilient kids and kids that are going to be creative and thinking outside the box and just feeling really confident on their own emotions and the way they like to express themselves. So, hope you guys enjoyed my lovely painting. And when you're done with your masterpiece, take a picture. You can either send to our studio at littleblankcanvas at gmail.com, or if you post it on social media, tag us at Little Blank Canvas, find us, send me a message. I would love to see your final masterpiece so we can bring all the love and share all these colors with the rest of the world. So thank you guys so much. I'm Miss Flavia with Little Blank Canvas, and I see you guys on our next video. Thank you so much. Bye, and happy Valentine's.